So today I'm going to be blind ranking arguments for God's existence. We are going to be using 3 key factors to determine each argument's ranking. So with the first being its logical strength. How internally consistent and logically valid is the argument? Does it follow its premises? Are the premises reasonable or widely accepted? The second being its persuasiveness, practical impact. How effective is the argument at convincing people, especially skeptics? Does it resonate with real human experience and can it change minds or behavior? And the third being explanatory power. How well does the argument explain features or reality? Does it provide the best explanation for what we observe? And does it avoid unnecessary assumptions? Alright, with that, let's get into it. Alright, with the first being the cosmological argument. So this is actually a pretty good one. It's basically saying that everything to ever exist has a cause, right? Kind of like a domino effect. If there's a domino that falls, what's the cause of it, right? What's the domino before that made it fall, right? Everything has to have a cause for its existence, right? I think it's actually a pretty good one. I don't know if I would say S tier, but honestly, I think I'm going to have to put it at A tier. Alright, next up, we got the moral argument. Actually, it's a pretty good one. So it's basically saying if we have morals, right, natural morals, then there must be a transcendent moral lawgiver, right? Like we can all agree it's wrong to torture children, but who gave us that moral dislike to naturally think it's wrong, right? It's pretty good. I've seen some decent counter arguments. Okay, so this is a tough one. I'm gonna put this at B or C. Probably C. Alright, there you go. Okay, next up we got Pascal's wager, right? So this is pretty good, but also pretty bad. It's not really an argument. It's more like a way to persuade someone, which is kind of an argument. I don't know. But so what it basically is, you can either believe in God or not believe in God, right? And if you believe in God and God does not exist, then nothing really happens, right? But if you believe in God and he does exist, you get all this good stuff, right? Like eternal life. But if you do not believe in God and he does exist, you get like all this bad stuff, like you don't get eternal life, right? But if you do not believe in God and he does not exist, then it's the same thing as believing you do believe in God, but he does not exist, you know? So one side, you get good or nothing out of it, or the other side, you get bad or nothing out of it, right? So it's more of a way of thinking, which I guess is kind of like an argument. It's tough. Like, I feel like it could be very high up or very down low, but probably gonna have to put this kind of low. Probably like E tier, because it's not really argument, I feel like. I don't know. Alright, next up we got the teleological argument. It's basically saying that everything is like such like uniquely and complex, right? Like there must have been a complex designer to create it, right? Like you aren't gonna find a watch in the wilderness, for example, without assuming there's been the creator of the watch, right? Something like with the mechanics and the watch and everything with that being so precisely made, it doesn't just naturally get made, you know? So the teleological argument's pretty decent. I want to put this at either B or D because I'm blind ranking. I think I'm gonna have to do B. That's tough. Next up we got the ontological argument. It's basically, okay, I'm glad I saved F for this because ontological argument is basically saying, like, imagine a God so great, right? No matter how good you imagine him, there's the real God who's just going to be better. But it's a really stupid argument because you could use that to explain the existence of anything. Like, for example, imagine such a tasty, yummy donut, right? It's just so good, but there's a donut that's always going to taste better. You could use that argument to describe anything, right? So it's a pretty bad argument. I'm going to put this at F tier. Alright, next up we got the argument from religious experience, right? So this is pretty good. It's basically saying, like, if someone tells you all their personal religious experiences they've had with God, right? Maybe like answered prayers or miracles they've seen in their life, right? That's good. But I think the biggest counter argument is saying a coincidence or something, right? But it's still definitely good because there's lots that cannot be coincidences. So with my 2 spots left, S or D, I feel like I'm gonna have to put that at D because it's on blind ranking. If I wasn't blind ranking, I'd probably put it at C or B. Maybe C. It's pretty good, but yeah. Alright, finally, our last one, we got the argument from consciousness, right? This is pretty good. It's pretty similar to the cosmological argument, right? It is what it sounds like, right? The arguments have how we have consciousness, right? How can there be consciousness without being a bigger creator, right? I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically saying how can you have consciousness without there not being a creator? We have to have had to come from somewhere or someone with having this consciousness, right? The Big Bang kind of doesn't even explain how we could have consciousness. it kind of could explain the material. But I'll go into the Big Bang in a later different episode. But for now, I think I'm going to put this at S tier. It's pretty good. Because, I mean, to be fair, that's the last spot I have. But, yeah. Alright, so I thought it turned out pretty well. Actually, a lot better than I thought for blind ranking. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know how you guys think I did down below. Make sure you guys give this a like, and see you guys in the next one.